If anyone was wondering where I have been, or if anyone has cared enough to wonder why I haven't posted in about a month on this channel, it's because I lost my voice. And not completely, I didn't totally lose my voice, but I lost a good chunk of my speaking voice and I lost my singing voice altogether. Here's what I think happened, and hopefully what I went through will help you to avoid losing your voice. Let's get into it. I think one of the reasons why I lost my voice is because of a sickness I didn't know I had. So I actually ended up losing my voice maybe about 30 minutes to an hour into a show that I was doing. It was a 2.5 hour show that I was performing with the corporate band that I am a part of. And I believe that this sickness caused my voice to be exasperated or just tired a lot more quickly during the show. Based on a quick Google search I did, I think I got what's called laryngitis, which can be caused from infections just as simple as a common cold. COVID was another thing that came up, but it's typically a very easy infection that most of us gets. It can progress into laryngitis, which is just like a loss of the voice, right? So I did a quick Google search before making this video, and I think that is what I got. Now, how did I end up getting it? Well, like I mentioned earlier, I do sing with a corporate band and we have weekly rehearsals. I think that a couple of people who were at the rehearsal were actually infected or had some kind of cold or had laryngitis, and maybe the microphones weren't sprayed down well enough, or maybe they didn't know they had it. I don't know. So they weren't wearing masks and I wasn't wearing a mask, and I didn't make sure that I sanitized the microphone that I used before starting rehearsal. All of these things could have been why I contracted it myself, but I actually ended up getting an itchy throat the day after rehearsal. And then the following day, I had to perform. Now, the way that it works for our particular band is there's one male singer, two female singers. The other female singer who was on the show with me, she had already lost her voice. So they asked me if I would sing both female parts. And I said, sure, why not? I was thinking it was going to be fine. I didn't know what was going on with my voice, and I did not think that I was going to lose it 30 minutes to an hour into the show. So what is laryngitis and how can you get it? I'm actually going to read what I found from Google. So when I searched on Google, what is laryngitis? It says that laryngitis is the inflammation of the voice box, the larynx, leading to hoarseness, a weak voice, or temporary voice loss. It occurs when vocal cords become swollen and irritated, usually due to viral infections such as cold or flu, vocal strain, or irritants. Most cases are temporary and heal within 1 to 2 weeks, though chronic cases last over 3 weeks. Key symptoms include hoarseness or a raspy voice, weak voice or complete loss of voice, tickling, raw or sore throat, dry cough, frequent need to clear the throat. Types and causes: acute laryngitis, which is just short term, usually caused by viruses like the common cold, influenza, or COVID-19, or temporary vocal overuse like shouting too much. Chronic laryngitis, which is long term, lasts longer than 3 weeks, often caused by exposure to irritants like smoke or allergens, acid reflux like GERD, or chronic vocal strain. So constantly doing too much, basically. Treatments and management: vocal rest, hydration, humidity, avoid irritants. And of course, seek a doctor if symptoms last longer than about 3 weeks. So that is what laryngitis is. That's how you can catch it and how you can treat it. So what I learned from this experience is that you can lose your voice as a result of being sick. Now, this is something that I knew, but it's not something that I've ever actually experienced for myself. I will say that this is the first time in my life that I have been performing this consistently. So I do typically perform once a week, and these shows will be anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours of vocal singing, vocal demand, and just demand from my overall body, because we do a little bit of choreography as well during these shows. Any other time that I've been sick, I'm mostly like a studio person, right? Most of my job, most of my income, most of my involvement with music up until this point has been within the recording studio. So if I don't feel good enough to sing, I just don't go to the studio. But because working in the corporate band is my job, it's one of my jobs, I cannot just not sing. I kind of have to power through it. This was my first time having to power through a sickness. Now, I thought I would just be dealing with mucus. I thought I would just be sounding super nasally, which is fine with me because I can sing through that. At least I still have my voice. But What I believe to have happened is that because I was sick and I was putting vocal strain onto my voice, like I think the sickness, like I said, exasperated that and caused me to lose my voice because my voice just got tired so much quicker. It was hoarse. I was coughing. It was itchy. It was irritated. It was all of those things that I described, all of the symptoms for laryngitis. So be mindful that you can lose your voice from being sick and basically straining your voice or putting too much on your voice when you should be resting. Sometimes we can power through it if it's like a light sinus infection or maybe just a nasal drip or something like that, but definitely be mindful not to do too much when you have even something as simple as a common cold, because singing while you are sick can lead you to lose your voice. It can lead to laryngitis. I also want to make sure that I point out that I believe I got laryngitis as a result of vocal overload. Now, I know I've said this maybe 2 or 3 times in the video already, but I really need you to get it. So on top of being sick, right? Vocal overload, meaning I was singing more or doing more than I typically would be doing with my voice. So even though I am used to singing upwards of 5 to 6 hours per week, and then like 2 to 4 of those hours is a straight shot. You know what I mean? Like just continuous singing. I'm used to that, but I was not used to having to sing 2 female parts. So we have like this whole color coded system where the male songs are red and then the 2 female vocals are split between purple songs and blue songs. I typically only sing the blue songs, but because my female counterpart, she was sick and she had already lost her voice, they asked me to sing purple songs as well as my typical blue. So I was doing more than I typically put on my voice. Now, I have done a video before where I talk about vocal load management. I thought I could handle this, and you could hear probably even just then, my voice is still not 100% back. It is mostly back, but not 100%. But I put too much strain, I put too much load on my vocals for this particular show. And that was exasperated because I had the sickness, because of that itchy throat and that irritation within my throat. It ended up being too much for me. So you got to be mindful of your vocal load management and be mindful of not overloading yourself. This could happen if you're not singing. A lot of times I think I'll see people going to like sporting events, and if they're shouting really loudly, or if you go to a party and you're just screaming, or you go to a concert, something like that, and you're just screaming and you're yelling, doing that for a long period of time, which is like at least 2 or 3 hours at concerts or sporting events, right? If you're not used to yelling every day, if your voice has not been conditioned to handle that, then that will cause you to lose your voice as well. In my particular case, I was singing a larger vocal load than I was used to, so that caused me to lose my voice and develop laryngitis. And lastly, what I want to caution you with when it comes to my experience, another reason why I lost my voice is because I forced my way through it. Now, this does also fall into vocal load management again, and knowing what your limits are and when you need to stop. But this was a live performance situation, so it's not something that I could necessarily stop. And it's not something that I had practiced vocal alternatives for. So I might do a separate video on this in the future, but when you are performing and you're doing it consistently, you have certain ways that you practice, right? And you have an ideal of how you want to hit your notes. But then sometimes when you get to the show and you actually start performing and you start getting tired and time starts going along, your voice gets tired, or you just simply don't feel confident in hitting certain things that maybe you hit in rehearsal, right? Because conditions of your body or the conditions of the environment just cause you to not feel comfortable, or it doesn't seem favorable to hit certain notes, right? So what I'm getting at here is that typically I do have a certain repertoire of different notes, different approaches that I can take to certain songs for anticipating when I'm not going to feel like it, or when my voice just feels like it's not going to want to go there. However, because I don't typically do purple songs and blue songs in the same thing, in the same show, I had not prepared mentally for how I would approach the songs differently, because it was sprung on me like the day before the show. So there really wasn't any way to switch out a girl or to have somebody else on there that could sing, you know what I mean? So, and I really didn't think about it until the show started. I was just like, it's going to be what it is. It'll be fine. It was fine, but I ended up losing my voice. But all of that to say, I didn't think about the different vocal approaches I could use. So I usually like to go a little bit lower, or I'll do a different variation of the same type of key, but I might climb into it versus jumping right into it. You know what I mean? I just didn't think about that. So when I felt my voice going out, I didn't want to miss certain key parts of the song. And it's something that they've kind of been they've kind of been picking at me about, like, you know, they don't want me to put too much of my own rendition into it, to keep it true and certain to keep it true to the like original song or whatever. So that's been something that's been on my mind, right? But what happened is a lot of these songs are big and vocally demanding songs back to back to back, and I just didn't think of an alternative way to hit it, and I ended up pushing through and trying to hit the notes that was supposed to be hit. And like I said, it was just too much on my voice. So keep that in mind for yourself. If you can help it, try not to do what I did. Don't try to force your way through it. If you can stop, please do. It's a little more difficult for me because I'm in a live situation, and it is very noticeable in a live show whether or not the voice is doing what it's supposed to do. So be mindful of that for yourselves. Lastly, I want to talk about what it was like having laryngitis. This was my first experience with it, and honestly, it was very scary. I have never had to deal with laryngitis. I can honestly say I have never lost my singing voice in this way before. Never. This was the first for me. So it was scary. It reminds me of when I figured out that I had allergies, and those allergies caused me to get like impacted earwax in my ear one year. This was maybe like 2016, 2017. And the earwax buildup was so bad that I actually lost hearing in my ear for like 2-3 days. And that was really scary because I'm an audio engineer. I need my ears to hear. And if you're a singer, you also need your ears to be able to hear. If you cannot hear, you cannot imitate. If you can't imitate, you cannot sing, and you can't vocalize. So it reminds me of when I lost my hearing. Very scary as a person who does music. I quite literally need my instrument, which is my voice, my vocal cords. I need my ears. I need those things. So it was very scary for me. And I was worried. I had to go on vocal rest. The following week, I had a really big show, which a lot of pressure was put onto this show. And I had a rehearsal that we had to do to test like a couple of new sets. Couldn't participate in the rehearsal because I was on vocal rest. So the first time that I sang the stuff was at the actual show, and that's nerve-wracking in itself. But also I couldn't sing to my full capacity like I normally wanted to, because the next weekend after that, after the big show, the following week, I was going to have a double. I had a double show. So one show on the first, one show on the second. And I didn't want to do too much on that big show because I needed my voice to be okay for the following week. And yeah, I just was being very mindful about how I was approaching songs. I did get in a little bit of trouble for, modifying some of the songs at that big show. I think they forgot that I told them that I was still recovering and my voice wasn't 100%, but that's another story. But it was scary. It was not fun. People were mad at me because I did not want to talk on the phone. And even when I asked people to text me, some people just want to do what they want to do, and they don't want to consider what I'm going through, even after telling them. So some people were upset at me for not wanting to talk on the phone. But on the bright side, as an introverted person, it gave me a great excuse to not have to talk to people. That was kind of nice. Being an introvert and being on vocal rest, it's a very nice combination. I don't got to talk to nobody. That was the highlight of it. But what I did, and I'll talk about this in my next video of how I ended up recovering my voice, but most of it was vocal rest. I didn't realize how much I audibly talk to myself just around the house. And I do pray to God a lot, so I talk out loud when I pray. But just having like my train of thought, I audibly speak that just around the house. And I didn't realize how much I did that until it was time to go on vocal rest. But even now, let me look at my calendar really quickly. So I lost my voice on the April 25th show. I went on vocal rest for that week. I still had to talk at my job because I don't have to talk a lot at my job, and I'm really thankful for that. It's mostly my office job, I should say. It's mostly stamping papers and just signing things, so I don't have to talk too much, so that was good. But the show, the big show was April 25th. So I lost my voice on April 18th, and then the big show was April 25th, and I used my voice at sound check, and then I used most of my voice at that show. But then I still had to be on vocal rest because the following week, which was May 1st and May 2nd, I had a double. had one show on the 1st, and my voice actually went out a little bit. And I don't know if you can hear it right now, but I feel it for myself. My voice is still tired. At that April 1st show, maybe like an hour and a half into the show, my voice started to get tired and you could hear that it was hoarse. I pushed through it because I felt like I had enough rest. And thankfully I was correct. I accurately read my body and I was pretty much good to go for the show on May 2nd. And then as of the time of this recording, I'm recording this on Mother's Day, May 10th. I had a show last night, May 9th, in Asheville, and my voice was doing well. Now, there are a few things that happen, like when I'm just doing vocal exercises. For some reason, the ah sound, when I get to a certain level on the scale, ah just does not want to come out. And my high register is not completely back. And I noticed that I get tired a lot more quickly when I'm speaking. So I can sing pretty much at my regular level, but my voice gets tired a lot more easily these days. So I don't think I'm completely 100%. I'm still getting there. Not completely 100%, but definitely way better than April 18th. So yeah. That is my experience with getting laryngitis for the first time, how I lost my voice and how I felt about that. So I do hope that you learned something from my experience and you have a better understanding of what you might need to look out for if you suspect that you might be about to lose your voice. Watch out for those things: sickness, overload, and then trying to force your way through something. Make sure you watch out for those things because it can cause you to lose your voice and it's likely going to be laryngitis. But I want to thank you so much for tuning into this video. It's good to be back. I was a little anxious about recording again because it's been a month since I've done anything, but glad to be back on camera and glad to be sharing what I know with you. And I hope that you learned something. Let me know what you like in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified each and every time I post a new piece of content. And yeah, in the comments, let me know what you would like the next topic to be for Lex Chat. But until then, my name is LexC. Peace.
I can see it in the way you twist your neck. Every minute rolling eyes, deep breaths. If you need a deep breath, come and lay it on my chest.
Say less in real life. Something's off. You ain't sitting next to me and that don't sit right. You ain't working today. I'm on my way. You miles away. I'm on the plane. God said, write the vision, make it plain.
If I had